And now it's Deborah Kobylt Live and the Little Italy Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on Deborah Kobylt Live and our Little Italy podcast. And please welcome Maura Fanti, Research Associate at USC's Longevity Institute. And she joins us today to talk about the benefits of fasting, how to do it, because there's a lot of articles out there about what to do and how to do it. And she'll kind of walk us through that, but also about the real true benefits to our metabolism, to our longevity overall, to any diseases. It's really important. And it doesn't mean you just starve yourself for an entire day. There's quite a bit to this. And she's been researching this for quite some time. And I'm truly excited to have you join us today, Maura. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Deborah.
Yeah. Talk to me first about what you do and what your focus is there over at USC.
Yeah, I used to work several years ago on this project about calorie restriction and progression of liver cancer. And calorie restriction, which basically is a reduction in calorie intake, which can go from 20% to 40% on daily basis. It has been studied for decades because it had a lot of benefits in terms of chronic disease, and also is associated with longevity, especially in small species. Anyway, I attended a conference where Professor Longo from USC was talking about the fasting, the beneficial effect of fasting. So for me, it surprised me that just few days of fasting can lead to the same benefits of long-term calorie restriction, which for humans being, of course, it's very difficult to adhere to a long-term calorie restriction. So if we can get the same benefits from few days of fasting instead of, again, long-term plans, it's really can be a remedy for human health. That's why not too long after I joined Professor Longo lab at USC to, understand the real mechanism of fasting and what it does. And here we are focused on several pathological models, from cancer to neurodegenerative disease. But personally, I am more involved in metabolic disease and longevity.
So let's talk about that. Inflammation is another big culprit, right? If we have inflammation, it could lead to all sorts of issues and diseases affecting the metabolism, affecting the liver, affecting so many other organs in our body. Talk to me first about fasting. For example, when I first read about fasting, now we're talking, years ago, it was like, I don't know, you fast 20 hours a day and you get to eat for 4. I thought, oh, forget it. I can't do that. But that's not the way, right? Like, that's really not the healthy way to be doing this. Talk to me about what you believe is a healthy fast for most people.
Yeah, you are right. There is it's confusion around fasting because there are many ways to fast.
Yeah.
The intermittent fasting, which can be 16-8 or 5-2, which basically means 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating, which is not, it doesn't mean that you have to eat for 8 hours. I mean,
Right.
it's a window of time that you can eat, or 5 days of eating a normal diet and 2 non-consecutive days of fasting. Unfortunately, let's say 16 hours of fasting usually is associated with breakfast keepers, and it's also associated in long term to high risk of all cause of mortality. So fortunately, there are other ways to fast, like the time-restricted eating, which is different. It means that you can fast 12, 14 hours, and the rest of the day you can have a normal diet, which is feasible and easy to be implemented for everybody. And then there is the last one, which is the fasting mimicking diet, which is the plan that Professor Longo developed here at USC, and is actually the plan that we are using, which is a periodic fasting, cyclic, like 5 days of low calorie, low sugar, low protein diet, which actually is not really fasting. You trick your body to think that it's fasting, but it's not. So you keep eating for 5 days, but you can get the same beneficial effect of total fasting, water-only fasting, which is pretty amazing. So there are many ways to fast, and all of them works actually, but some of them can, in long term, bring some, side effect that you want to avoid. So my advice is for someone that want to approach a fasting plan, a fasting program, to start with the time-restricted eating, 12, 14 hours of fasting, or the fasting mimicking diet.
When you fast, should you do it all at one time? And you like, in other words, you shouldn't fast for 6 hours, eat, fast for another 6 hours. You should fast for the entire time, right?
Correct. They need to be consecutive if you want to, because the point is that your body, it needs to be forced to use up all the glucose storage and then switch to burning the fat to get energy, to produce energy. And this is this process that leads to this ketogenesis process, is that one associated with improvement in insulin sensitivity, metabolic rearrangement that in some way modulate the lipid profile, cholesterol reduction, triglyceride reduction, inflammation reduction, all risk factors for chronic disease and age-related disease.
I've read that Italians live an average of 5 to 8 years longer than the average American, primarily due to lifestyle and absolutely due to the diet. What is it that they're doing in Italy, and you're from Italy, of course, that we're not doing here that we really should be developing here in the United States?
So, of course, it's a combination of lifestyle and diet. Because we are talking about nutrition, I'll be more focused on that part.
Sure.
So in Italy, eating is not just food. It's also community, it's enjoyment, it's sharing the meal with family, friends. So we really slow down. We take that moment to cook, and we also like to choose the fresh, good ingredients for our meal. It's really like something that we enjoy. I feel like here in the US, it's more rushed, on the go, and heavily influenced by ultra-processed food.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they are cheaper, and people tend to favor them also for this reason, unfortunately. So the Italian diet, which is, of course, a Mediterranean diet, it's rich in vegetables, legumes, fish, meat also, but it's a balanced diet. But what makes also difference, I think, is the olive oil, which is good fat for your brain and for everything, but it's also rich in polyphenols. And these polyphenols are the ones that have anti-inflammation, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties. So it's a combination of food and lifestyle around, eating that make the difference, I think, between Americans and Italians.
Talk to me about inflammation. It's a big buzzword that I remember hearing growing up, and I'm thinking, what is this inflammation? How do you get inflammation, and how can we get inflammation out of our bodies?
So inflammation still in nutrition, in the nutrition world, is induced, unfortunately, by the same high calorie dense food, ultra processed food, from sugar, for example, saturated fat, are also pro-inflammatory food. And unfortunately, the liver, which is the metabolic powerhouse of our body, eventually is the liver that processes all the nutrients that we get from our diets. So all these ultra-processed food or sugar or fat, in time overload the liver job and make it struggling. So struggling, and basically it leads to fatty liver accumulation, that the chronic fatty liver accumulation brings to chronic inflammation, which is the chronic inflammation that then brings to fibrosis of the liver, cirrhosis of the liver, so it cannot work anymore. And at the end, it ends up with hepatocellular carcinoma, which require a transplant. So let's say chronic inflammation, the continuous exposure to this ultra-processed food and this bad food is the one that unfortunately drive that chronic inflammation and this disease.
I have a family member who has fatty liver disease, and let me tell you, she's quite thin and she eats well, and she suddenly exploded with inflammation issues. What do you do in a case like that to try and get that under control?
So the good news is that if it's only fatty liver accumulation in early stage, which is called steatosis, it's reversible.
Yeah.
With the diet and adopting a good lifestyle, you can definitely improve and be healthy again. But unfortunately, once the inflammation is established, like fibrosis or cirrhosis, then it's not reversible. And unfortunately, there is a bad news, which is that it's asymptomatic. So people that do not really know what's going on. And you should know that 1 in 3 people in US can suffer with metabolic disease that they don't know. So the advice is just prevention. So make sure to adopt, since you are young, a good diet to prevent that to happen. So, and chronic inflammation, this is related to liver, but it can bring to diabetes too, for example. So insulin resistance and obesity and chronic disease can then also lead to neurodegenerative disease. So basically fixing that with diet and a good lifestyle can really make the difference.
Yeah. How do we get this message to people? Because sometimes I feel like people feel like they're being preached to or preached at, right? And they're like, yeah, I know. And then they'll still go to one of those big box stores and buy a meal in a box or something frozen. Frozen isn't necessarily always bad, but you know, in other words, they're not making with fresh ingredients. They're going out and doing the easy way and just microwaving. How do we get the message through to make it easy for people? I think a lot of Americans still want it to be easy. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Deborah. I think, of course, for adults, it's very difficult to change, to make this big change. Of course, being aware that it's important for your healthy longevity. For some people can be enough motivation, but I think we should start from kids education in the school, for example, because kids need to be aware of the importance of eating the right ingredients, eat well, and you know, prevent from certain disease. So I think that here what it's really important is the education, and maybe learn how to cook, how to enjoy, embrace the Italian style, and really enjoy your meal with good ingredients and good food.
What got you involved in this? Where were you born in Italy, and your interests? How did it develop?
So I'm, of course, I grew up in an Italian family, and the diet was, of course, rich in vegetables, legumes, fish, olive oil everywhere, every day. So I was naturally exposed to this lifestyle, which then science confirmed to be protective against chronic disease and associated with longevity. But additionally, I'm from Sardinia, which is known as a blue zone, where we have a high incidence of centenarian people.
Yeah.
My great-grandmother was centenarian, 105. So again, I was, you know, I experienced, I was surrounded by this living example of healthy aging. So that's why I really wanted to understand what was behind the biology behind this effect. So that's why then I decided to join Professor Longo, who is an expert in that.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. How do you get the word out when you're on a university campus to young people that this is critical for their life, for long life? How do you do that?
Say, you mean what?
How do you really, a lot of, as you said, sometimes it's difficult for habits to change when you're older. So how do we get this in front of the young people who really can make changes? Are there classes there at USC? Do you go out and speak? I know that I met you because you were speaking at an event sponsored by our Italian culture, the Italian Cultural Institute, and our consulate, which is fantastic. Do you go out and speak a lot, quite a bit, to younger people?
Not really part of my job. I'm more a scientist, like I work in the lab. I do really the experiment, the research, the basic research behind that. But there are people that definitely now they are starting to talk to kids. Which is the thing that's it's really important too. I think that in the campus, if you are talking about students, young people in the campus, probably one solution might be not let being available, soda, which is sugar, basically. So in fact, I think that replacement or replace the soda or this drink with water can be one of the solution. Or for example, I was surprised moving from Italy here, the amount of choice of dressing. For example, in Italy, we have olive oil and vinaigrette. That's it. Here, you can choose any kind of dressing, which is unfortunately high calorie dense and rich in fat and sometimes sugar too. So this is a second thing that you can do. Avoid. I would tell students or young people to try to replace these simple things like soda, for example, number one. Because I see them running on the campus all the time with this soda. And for me, it's really, it's something really different. My experience. So this is the first advice for them. The second, it would be to, replace this dressing with olive oil, which is a huge component of the Mediterranean diet. As I mentioned before, for the property of polyphenols as antioxidant and anti-inflammation. So along that, of course, the lifestyle and diet can't do everything by itself. It needs to be combined with exercise and physical activity. Otherwise, it's not enough.
Yeah, even just walking up and down the street, I like to say, or if you can't, if you're on a busy street, if you have access to a treadmill, like this really is critical. Like it's not going to happen for us. We have to go out and be proactive and do it too. So that's very, very important. Anything else you want to tell our audience who are interested in getting involved in fasting, but they're a little nervous about how to do it? You want to just give them, 12 to 14 hours fast, eat, what would you advise an easy way to ease in to fasting, to helping us to feel better?
Yes, the easiest to me is, as you said, approach the time restricted eating. And so try to have 12, 14 hours of fasting. And of course, the rest of the day, make the choice, make a healthy choice of what you want to eat. As I said before, replace the soda and dressing, for example, with something else. This is one thing. Very easy to do. It's feasible for everybody. So this is the one. The second one is the fasting mimicking diet, which we know that healthy people can do easily 2-3 times per year, 5 days of fasting mimicking diet. And they are amazing. It has been shown, you should know that only 3 cycles of this fasting mimicking diet was capable to reduce the biological age of 2.5 years, which is amazing. Can you believe if you can gain 2.5 healthy years in your life? So it was published last year. It's a recent study, and actually we were very excited about that. There are different ways to approach, but to me, these two are the ones that can work better for everybody. Of course, if you have a pathology, you need to discuss that with your physician, and because sometimes it can be managed in a different way. For example, this fasting mimicking diet plan, there we have several clinical trials that show in diabetes, for example, diabetes 2, 12 cycle of FMD of this diet, we're able to manage and control the glycemic in the blood, the glycemic in the blood, and also reduce the use of medication for the patient. So they can really make the difference in the life of people, both healthy people and with disease.
And that's a long time. You mentioned 2.5 years earlier when you were talking. That alone, if people hear this, imagine you doing this every year. Gosh, you're going to live to over 100 people. So please, at least try and see if we can incorporate this into our life. It's once you start, right? It's like anything. Once you start and you get accustomed to it, it's really not that difficult, is what I like to say. And I have something else. Pack your food if you can, because I know sometimes I'm on the run and I go to purchase some food, and gosh, still in our country, it's usually in a box and it's pre-packaged. So if at all possible, package and bring your own food to work, on an airplane, or anything else you do. I think that's important too. So you don't get into this habit of always picking up fast food, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And we as Italian, we actually are used to it. So we like to cook. I cook every day, almost every day, not every day, but I try to cook every day because I like to decide what I want to have. I want to know the ingredient that I use. So this is very, very, very important. That's something that I think Americans should implement. On daily basis. I think also that probably people can think there is too much efforts to do that, which is not. It's talking about fasting mimicking diet, for example, it's only 5 days. After that, of course, during these days, you may feel like low energy, that you really want to eat, but trust me, after 5 days, you really feel great, and it's really worth it. I usually do 2-3 times per year.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm gonna live 100 like my great grandmother, but definitely I'm trying to.
Yeah. Wow, your great grandmother lived to 100, probably because she did this naturally. That's what we do in Italy. And it's important, and I'm so grateful that you're studying this over at USC. Maura Fanti, I'm grateful that you joined us today, research associate at USC Longevity Institute. People try it, and can they reach out to you if they wanted to, more information, or where can they get more information on 5-day fasting?
Definitely, they can contact the foundation, Create Foundation, and there are dietitians that can help them to deal with that. Especially nowadays, Deborah, that there are these medications that help to weight loss, like Ozempic, for example. Which is great. It's a great medication. Ozempic is just one of them. They are in this category of GLP-1 receptor agonist. They work very well. Actually, they were developed to treat diabetes too. But at the same time, scientists found out that they were also able to reduce the body weight, for example, and improve cardiovascular disease, which is amazing. But to me, it's good to have these options. But for people that just want to manage the weight and they are just overweight, is not really necessary, because this kind of medication are still medication and drugs. So they bring also side effects, like gastrointestinal issues, like nausea, for example. But it can be also pancreatitis, or something like in very few cases, blindness. I'm just saying that I don't know if it's worth it if you just want to lose weight to do that. It's
Right.
way better to adopt a lifestyle that embrace both healthy diet, and physical exercise.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's actually very important to try and do it ourselves organically, the way we do from our mother country and the way people have done for centuries, honestly. So I agree with that. I know it can be a quick fix and it does help reduce, some issues, but we can accomplish the same thing if we decide to do it naturally through fasting. And we can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Maura. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other things you'd like to tell our audience before we let you go?
Just to try today, advice from today, to cut the sugar, sodas, and dressing. That's it. That's my advice for today. And let's see what's going to happen in 1 month.
Yeah, I like that. And even cut back a little on alcohol consumption, right? I have a friend who went from drinking when she went out to dinner from 2 glasses of wine to 1. And it made a huge change in her life. She looked better. Her skin was clearer. And then she eventually just decided not maybe have, a glass or 2 a month. And that was it. Made a tremendous difference, especially with her inflammation. So that's another one.
Totally. I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of sugar in that. Anyway, Maura Fanti, I'm so grateful that you joined us. So grateful that you brought up the GLP-1s toward the end of our interview, because that is very, very important, because it's something that so many people are doing now. And can we do it on our own? Yes, we can.
Yeah, just one thing. I don't get me wrong. I think it's important to have that option, but it still need to be prescribed by the doctor and monitored by the doctor. And I think only in certain cases, not everybody. I think now it's kind of too much popular.
Yeah, and I knew that's what you meant. And yes, because so many people I know, they're like, "Oh, just go get that," and I'm thinking, no, I can do it on my own. But you're right; it's very beneficial to some people who need to do that, without a doubt. But many of us can do it on our own. The fasting, I think, is a very safe approach. And if we try it once, even once a year, as you said, it's really very beneficial. So thank you for bringing that up. And Maura Fanti, there's a lot more to come from you. You're an associate researcher at USC's Longevity Institute, and I can't wait to see more from you as you continue your career there. So thank you very, very much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Deborah.
Yeah, it was a terrific conversation with you. And you can find my conversation with Maura on YouTube, Facebook. Then we cut them into promos on Instagram. And as an audio podcast, we're also out there on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts. Just please put in Deborah Kobylt Live and the Little Italy podcast, and you will find my interview with Maura Fanti. So everybody, thank you for joining us today. Please tell your friends and look into fasting. And remember what she said, if you can, limit the salad dressing, no sodas, and what was your other one?
Physical activity.
Physical activity. So try that today. It's not too late. You can do it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.